The Bambu Lab X1 Carbon was the second 3D printer I ever bought, and honestly, it changed the way how I looked at 3D printing. But now, the X1 Carbon's discontinued, and Bambu Lab has released the X2D. It's cheaper, it's newer, and it's better in a bunch of ways. But after using it for over 200 hours, there's one thing that's driving me nuts. So today, we're going to see if the X2D is actually worth it and how it compares. My name is Adam, and this is the Rad Dad Print Lab. For the record, I bought this printer. I have no relationship with Bambu Lab. So before you hit those comments about how much you might hate Bambu Lab right now because of their practices, just keep in mind, I paid for this. Like I said in the intro, the X1 Carbon changed the way I looked at 3D printing. It was a device that straight out of the box got me printing super quickly and easily thanks to its feature set. Sadly, it came at a hefty price tag of almost like $1,500 for the combo unit. That's a ton of money to spend on a 3D printer. So when Bambu started teasing the release of the X2D, I immediately knew it had to be somewhere near that like $1,200 price mark. But I was literally floored when I saw the release price of $899 for the combo. That's like damn near half the price I paid for my X1 Carbon. It's cheaper at $649 if you skip the AMS2 Pro and just get the printer by itself. Really, the biggest difference between this printer and its predecessor is that this is now a dual nozzle setup, similar to that of the H2D. There are other cool features, but we'll talk about those here shortly. The dual nozzle system is pretty cool, and it allows you to do some multicolor printing with less waste, as long as you're doing 2 colors. Any more than that, and you're still gonna have purge filament out of one of the nozzles, which generally is still gonna end up with a huge pile of waste. You know, I think it's a really cool idea, but there are some technical limitations to it. For one, the printer only really wants to do dual color with PLA. And if you try using something else, it will throw a warning at you. The other drawback here is that the secondary nozzle uses a Bowden extruder that's mounted on the back of the printer. Bowden extruders are quite an older technology from direct drive systems that we're using today. Bowden extruders are less precise, so retractions and pressure control are generally going to be worse. Now, I did try printing some stuff straight off the auxiliary nozzle only, and it still printed out pretty okay. But where this is really going to shine is using the secondary nozzle to print PLA and act as a support interface for PETG. PLA and PETG do not like sticking together, like at all, so you can interchangeably work them as a support interface material. So instead of fighting with supports and destroying the bottom of your print, you can get much cleaner support removal and cleaner surfaces. Here is PETG with a layer of PLA as an interface. Now the PLA still did stick here more, but we can get that off. And now have a look at that. That is a perfect piece right there. So this is where the X2D starts to make a lot of sense for me. It's not really about printing 2 colors, it's about printing smarter supports. Now this does come at a downside. You do lose build volume with that right nozzle enabled, which can be a bit of a bummer. You know, couldn't they just make the printer a little bit wider to accommodate the full use of the build plate with both nozzles? Instead, you're losing 20 millimeters on the x-axis and about 4 millimeters of build height. The Bowden extruder hasn't been perfect for me either. My first print using it, the filament got all tangled up in the gears. Thankfully, the Bambu Lab wiki on this printer is quite good, so I was able to get it sorted out relatively quickly. But it was just really annoying. Next up, I had a piece of filament break in between the nozzle and the extruder. If it was a normal PTFE tube and coupler, I could easily detach the tube. But because the Bowden extruder requires a different, more secure connection, I ended up just pushing the filament through the hot end manually in order to clear it, because I was being lazy. I didn't really want to look up to see how to fix that. The next biggest upgrade for the X2D is going to be the active chamber heater, which is capable of getting that chamber up to 65 degrees Celsius. This is really great if you like printing materials like ABS, ASA, and nylon, for example. It also helps prevent the material from cooling at different rates, which can cause warping. The layers also bond better, providing better layer adhesion, which makes the print overall stronger. With the addition of that heater, Bambu also updated the way the system cools and heats. In the printer settings, you can now choose between prioritizing heating or cooling, and this will automatically change depending on the material that you choose. There are 2 intakes on the side of the printer, which also double as handles, so it makes moving around the printer quite a bit easier. The printer exhausts out of the back of the exhaust port. It's funny to see this included on the X2D because it was an additional add-on you had to purchase and install for the P2S. Unfortunately, the cooling system can't keep up with my hot garage, so we're going to talk about that now. Right now, the biggest issue I'm running into is that the printer will throw an error when the chamber temps get over 44 degrees Celsius printing PLA. The new cooling system simply can't keep up with the ambient temperature of my garage. It's currently about 40 degrees Celsius in my garage as it is, which is about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so there's barely any wiggle room for this thing to work. Currently, for me to get the printer to work, I'm having to remove the top lid completely and open the front door as wide as it'll go. This is annoying because none of my other printers do this. So I printed out these glass risers in ASA, and I'm hoping that's gonna help going forward. Now, removing the top lid wouldn't be such a big deal, but because of the AMS sitting on top, the AMS is just sitting lower into the actual cavity of the printer, and now the Bowden tube is just rubbing on the bottom of that. You know, as expected with pretty much any new printer nowadays, it comes loaded with a bunch of AI stuff. Active flow rate calibration is gonna help ensure your prints come out looking good, and they're now advertising that it can compensate for things like dent filament or even worn out nozzles. That's kind of cool. There's active vibration compensation to help reduce ringing and other similar effects. There's also a bunch of other stuff that can detect printing issues like nozzle clump detection, spaghetti detection, and more. With all that AI stuff, you need a camera, and the included camera is pretty good. It's definitely usable for checking in on the prints, and its good frame rate and well-lit chamber make that really easy to do. You know, speaking of the light in the chamber, it's a big step up from the original X1 Carbon. You can actually see inside the printer now. Previously, I had to print risers and add additional strips of LED lights just to see what was even going on inside of the printer. Print quality has been good, just as you would expect from a printer like this. I tested ASA, and the prints I got came out perfectly fine. There's no issues as far as I can see. The active chamber heater is definitely doing its job. Next up, I tested some Prusament PC blend, and it did print mostly fine, but there was still some warping on the bottom of the print. PLA and PETG prints are great, there's no issues there. Don't try and run normal TPU through the auxiliary nozzle. It will clog up in the extruder gear, and you're gonna have a bad time. Can you guess why I know this? I ended up checking the Bambu Lab website, and it says that TPU for AMS is the only thing compatible with that auxiliary nozzle. In order to test the multicolor capabilities of this printer, I found this really cool Gengar print. I printed it using voxel PLA filament. The X2D is a great machine, and at its current price point, it's honestly a fantastic addition to the Bambu Lab lineup. The problem is, though, it's so close to the P2S in terms of price, it kind of makes it confusing as to why it's priced the way it is. Not on sale, the price difference between the two is $100. It kind of seems like a no-brainer to spend the extra $100 at this price point because you're getting the active chamber heating, you're getting the exhaust port on the back, and right there, you're already at $100. The printer's just nicer and more feature-packed, but if you want to see me do a side-by-side comparison between the two printers, just let me know down in the comments below. And if you're trying to decide between this printer and the P2S, go watch my P2S video right here. This is Adam from the Rad Dad. Yeah, frick! This is Adam from the Rad Dad Print Lab, and I'll see you next time. It's hot in here. I'm going back inside.